Johnny Campbell, keynote speaker, author, and founder of Rise Up and Win International, an organization that helps people develop the mental readiness so they can embrace change and turn their products and services into profits. Johnny is the past president of the National Speaker Association for the state of Illinois and an accredited speaker, a designation presented by Toastmasters International and held by certainly less than 100. I'm not sure what the number is, but less than that. In the world for excellence public speaking, Johnny is also a TEDx speaker. His talk entitled How an Enemy Can Improve Your Life, and the author of The Agent of Change, how to get people to embrace change without losing your mind or your bank account. Johnny currently provides groups with programs that will help them improve their performance so that they can provide a higher level of service to their teams, clients, customers, and communities. Johnny gained his change and sales expertise in the insurance industry, where he worked as a corporate trainer and participated in leading hundreds of people through multiple corporate downsizings and mergers. Based on Johnny's business results, experiences, and his ability to help his clients transition through challenges and succeed both in business and in life, called the Transition Man. So, Johnny Campbell with Win the Crowd. Win the Crowd. Johnny Campbell.
All right. Hello, everybody, fellow Toastmasters and guests. If there is one thing that we can all agree upon, is that we are definitely living in times filled with conflict, challenges, and change. However, there is one thing that remains the same that can truly help us. And that's when we learn how to gain collaboration, cooperation, and that's only found when we are willing to develop our communication skills. To develop our communication skills to such a degree that we're able to persuade, to engage, and to influence people. And by having this ability, we're able to make that connection. Fellow Toastmasters and guests tonight, this presentation is about giving you a roadmap on how to craft and create great presentations. Now, my story about myself is pretty simple. I've been a professional speaker for the last 20 years. This is all that I do for a living. So I derive my entire income from being a professional speaker and being paid to deliver paid presentations. Prior to being a professional speaker, I spent over 10 years in the insurance industry as a claims adjuster. I sold insurance and I was a corporate trainer. As a trainer, that's where I really learned the value of effective communication, but also in helping people navigate the uncertainties of change so that they can continue to be more successful. And so that's really my story for tonight. What we're about is you. And that's why this presentation is called Win the Crowd, how to craft winning presentations. What I'm going to share with you here is a look behind the curtain of crafting a great presentation. You hear presentations, but I want to talk about what happens behind it. What's behind a great presentation? What makes it so wonderful? What makes it so great? What you're going to learn from me is a process of how to do that tonight. And it even starts with the name of my presentation, Win the Crowd. The Win the Crowd concept comes from the movie, The Gladiator. And during that time, during the movie, the older gladiator gives Russell Crowe's character a little lesson about winning. And he makes it very clear. To listen to me, learn from me, I was not the best. I was the best because the crowd loved me. Win the crowd and win your freedom. What I realized was that when you craft a presentation, it's not for you, it's for the audience. And your ability to win the crowd is the key to your success, to give them what they want, to give them what they need from your presentation so that they feel compelled to do whatever you are suggesting. But you must first understand what it takes. And that's when I came up with my little creed right here. Before you can inspire with emotion, you must be swamped with it yourself. Before you can move their tears, your own must flow. To convince them, you yourself must believe. And that's by Winston Churchill. And that is really the cornerstone of every message that I deliver. You have to believe. And every message you deliver, you have to believe. The audience will gravitate to you if they know that you believe in what you are talking about, that what you're talking about is going to help them have a better life. It's going to improve their life. But you first have to believe that what you're going to say is going to help them. And that's where it starts. Here, we start with the typical anxieties that people have. Whenever you're crafting a presentation, there are these three kind of social anxieties people have, which are doubts, worries, and fears. And these are the typical things that people experience in Toastmasters, but then also they experience in their own lives whenever it comes to delivering a message, whether it's one-on-one, a group, or to a large audience. These anxieties will appear. But there is a way to overcome these anxieties and fears of doubts, worries, and fears. There's a way to overcome it. And the way that we overcome it is with clarity, confidence, and certainty. And by the end of this presentation, that's what you will gain from this. You will be clear. You'll understand how confidence is built, and you'll understand how this having that sense of certainty can make you a better presenter. But these are the three elements that craft this process here. And as a presenter, for those that have never met me before, I do tell stories, but I give lots of examples, illustrations, and metaphors at times. And I'm paid to teach people processes, a way of thinking about things, a way of doing things to accomplish their goals and their outcomes. My expertise is on helping people navigate the uncertainties of change. But in order to help them navigate the uncertainties of change, I have to craft presentations that allow that to happen. And that's what you're seeing right here is how I craft those messages. And at the core of every message, my focus is gaining clarity, confidence, and certainty from the audience. I want them to be clear. I want them to be confident. And I want them to have a sense of certainty that they can do what I am proposing. Before we get into it, I always show this slide right here, people who have found their voices. As I speak to groups and Toastmasters around the country and now around the world, people have a concern about their voice and finding their voice. That's why I show Dr. King, James Earl, Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, Reagan, Orson Welles, Morgan Freeman. Everyone knows Morgan Freeman's voice. That's the voice of God. Everybody knows that. And then there's Maya Angelou. Each person has their own unique voice, but so do you. I meet people with accents. They have a very heavy accent, and they wonder, should they remove their accent, get rid of their accent? And I tell them, no. Your accent is your asset. It's what makes you unique when people listen to you. If you have a heavy accent and you believe that that accent is disrupting your ability to communicate, the key is to slow down when you speak. Not get rid of your accent, simply slow down. As you slow down, people will understand exactly what you're talking about. It's when you speed up too fast and you have an accent that words jumble over words and words trip words, and that's what creates the confusion. But if you're able to slow down, your accent is an asset. It makes you memorable, unique, and people really gravitate to the accent and they'll lean into it. So that's something that I want to talk about really quick with the voice when people ask me questions about it. Next point on here is this. The two reasons why most people's presentations fail to hit the mark. Now, whenever you are crafting a presentation, there are these two elements that affect your presentation and the success of your presentation. The first one is a lack of clarity. I've listened to a lot of presentations over the years, and if people aren't clear on what the outcome is, it's hard to craft a great message. You have to be clear on what is the actual outcome that's supposed to happen at the end of your talk. What is supposed to happen? And then you build the message back from that. Here's what people do. People start off with, I have a story to tell. I want a story I want to share. But that's not the beginning of a presentation. When you're trying to influence people, engage people, persuade people, you must know what the outcome is first. Stories support the outcome, not the other way around. And what I observe people doing is telling a story and forcing an outcome into the story. forcing some type of ending into the story. You start with the outcome first. So this lack of clarity as to where this thing is supposed to end is the first stumbling block. The next stumbling block is there's no sequence or system to your presentation. There's no process around it. How does this thing flow from what step to the next step to the next step? When you deliver a presentation, and I deliver presentations to all types of audiences, they are looking for some chronological order of things. What am I supposed to do first? How do I approach this situation? What are the steps? What is the way that I take advantage of this? They're looking for a chronological order and an organized way of thinking about it. And so that's why when I listen to presentations that have no sequence or systematic way, it becomes very confusing to me. And that confusion causes me to lose focus. So that's why those are the two most important things. There's a lack of clarity and no systematic sequence of way of crafting your message. It's not there. And even Mark Twain would agree. If you want me to give a 2-hour presentation, I'm ready today. If you want only a 5-minute speech, it'll take me 2 weeks to prepare. And that is the reality of it. The less time you have, the more preparation must be involved, because you have to cut your words down and get specific as to what you have to say. When you have 2 hours, you can talk and ramble and go on and on and on. But when the less amount of time that you have, that's where the focus has to occur. As someone is paid to speak, I get 45 minutes generally to go out and speak. So I have to be clear as to what I'm telling that audience and the steps they need to take and how they need to take those steps, and be clear about it. And so that takes time to prepare for that moment. And as I said, the fewer moments you have, in other words, minutes, the more prepared you have to become so you can deliver that talk. That's why in Toastmasters, those 5 to 7 minute speeches are so important. You really have to hone in. You really have to focus. That's why pathways and the manuals in the past used to be very specific on what you were supposed to do for that particular project, because they know you only have 5 to 7 minutes. So the key to all of this is structure. And that's really the cornerstone of my presentations. I focus on structure over everything else. I don't focus on vocal variety. I don't focus on body language. I don't focus on humor. I focus on structure first, because with structure being correct, then I can find the funny in the talk. With structure, I can find the funny and I can put the right body language to it. When I have my structure, now all of a sudden I can find the funny, the body language, and then finally vocal variety. Notice these are all external things to your talk. Once you have your foundation in place, you build upon all these other attributes. It's not that they're not important, they're just not the first thing that you should be focused on. And anyone that's looking to become an accredited speaker, if you look at the evaluation form, structure is one of the highest categories in the evaluation process. And it's because it's the cornerstone of delivering a great presentation. So let me give you a quick disclaimer here. For me, I have never won the World Championship of Public Speaking. Never won it. I've gotten close. In other words, I've gotten to 2 district finals, never won it. The first time competed in the district contest, made it all the way to the district finals. I competed against a guy who was on crutches. He threw his crutches to the ground, took a step, and he beat me on the crutches. So I lost. The next time I competed in the contest, I spoke again, went all the way to the district finals. Everyone knew it was mine to win. I spoke against a lady. She sung a song and beat me. And I said, this is not American Idol. This is supposed to be a speech contest. But she beat me. And at that moment, I realized something. I said, I'm not a great storyteller, but I'm a great deliverer of content to help people improve their lives. And my style works in certain places, but not every place. And I realized that. And so I began to focus on just being the best paid professional speaker who delivers content that improves people's lives through change. As I did that, the accredited speaker program came into my radar. I didn't change anything to become an accredited. The accredited attached to me. I was already doing everything to be one. So the program anchored onto me. I didn't anchor onto it. Now, and I tell you that for a reason, is that as you grow as a communicator, you're going to develop a certain style. And your style is going to resonate with some people, but not everyone. And you have to get comfortable with that idea as you deliver your talks, that it's not going to work for everybody. But you have to realize that so that you're not trying to be upset when everyone doesn't love you. I realize my message doesn't fit everyone, but it fits certain people. And those are the audiences that I speak to. So that's why I wanted to give this quick disclaimer about this part of presenting. I'm not able to tell someone how to win the world championship of public speaking. I can't tell you how to win that thing, but I can tell you how to be a paid professional speaker because I know the process behind that. So that's kind of my little disclaimer. On with the presentation here in the sense of this. When you speak, sell, or offer your product, services, or ideas to people, here's the catch when it comes to presenting. You are asking them to embrace a change. Whenever you deliver a presentation to people, you're asking them to change first. So you've got this idea, this service, this product, but you have to deliver a presentation that helps them embrace the change that is required to embrace your product, service, or idea. And that's big for people and they don't realize it. You wonder why people reject what you're doing. Is because your presentation is selling the product, service, and idea, but it's not helping them embrace the change that is required to embrace your product, service, or idea. That's the difference. And that's what I'm crafting right here is a message on how to embrace the change that is required to accept the message. And in doing this, I actually created my own change management model. I call it the transitional sequential C model for agreement, acceptance, and achievement. It's my own model that I developed on how to get people to embrace the change that is required to achieve the outcome that they want. And what I'm going to do here is give you some components of it in this presentation here. That's why I call it presentation development and engagement process. The win the crowd presentation structural sequence. First key, know the outcome you want, understand your audience, choose the right words. Notice where the words come into play. That's not the most important thing at first. The outcome is the most important thing. Understanding the audience, then we put together the words that are necessary. Let's follow on here. So here we go. Win the crowd. The first step in the process. Whenever you're crafting a presentation, you must know your target outcome for that presentation. What is supposed to happen? After they hear you speak, what is supposed to happen? Are they supposed to buy your book? Are they supposed to join your Toastmaster club? Are they supposed to join your organization? What is supposed to happen when they hear at the conclusion of your presentation? That's what you have to get clear on. And you build the program backwards from the outcome that you desire. The next principle on there is this. Understand your audience. You know, what does your audience want from your presentation? You have an outcome that you want, but what does your audience want from it? Do they want to be something, do something, have something, or achieve something from your listening to your presentation? Do they want to be a better witness? Do they want to do something? Do they want to have something in their life? Do they want to achieve something in their life? You must know what they want from the presentation. You know what you want from it, but you also have to know what they want. That's how we start winning the crowd. You have to know what they want. And once we're clear on what they want, then we say to ourselves this question: how does the audience put a value on that outcome? How do they value that outcome? If I deliver my presentation and they embrace the presentation, is this presentation, do they value like this? Listening to what this guy is going to say is going to make me more money. Is it going to save me money, save me time, empower me, entertain me, less stress, better life? What is your talk? What is the outcome that's going to, what is going to happen at the end here? How do they value it? That's the key. So if you're doing a sales presentation, of course you want them to buy, but how do they put a value on what you're selling? If you're Toastmasters and you're saying, okay, how do they put a value on Toastmasters? Well, I'm joining Toastmasters because my employer told me to because I'm a terrible communicator. But that's not the real reason why you're joining. You're joining because that's what you need to work on. The reason you're joining is because you want a promotion, and your boss won't promote you till you become a better communicator or a more effective leader. That's the real reason why you're joining Toastmasters. See, we have to understand the value of what we have to offer. That's the key, understanding what the value really is that we have to offer. See, these are the components that are inside of your presentation. You know the outcome you want. You know what outcome they want. You know what they value. These are the things you speak to, because I'm trying to win the crowd. So I'm speaking to this when they listen to me present. And then as I craft my message, as I'm working on my message here, I know my outcomes. I know what they value. I know what the outcomes they want. Then I ask myself in my presentation, what's going to stand in their way of taking action? What will stand in their way? Some form of doubt, worry, and fear they have. I offer them the opportunity to join Toastmasters. And they tell me, well, I can't afford it. And then then I realize, okay, that's going to be something that stands in their way. Let me explain to them how they can afford it. Oh, I don't have the time. Let me show them that we have clubs that are corporate clubs. We have open clubs, community clubs. We have clubs at different times of the day, on the weekends, Monday through Friday. Let me show them the flexibility of Toastmasters so that time does not stand in their way. See, people, when they have something, they might want what you have, but these doubts and worries and fears are real in their minds. And you have to think about that. What could keep them from taking action on what they want and the outcome you want for them? What could stand in the way? That's what goes in the presentation. That's what goes into the talk, is that here's how we overcome that situation. These are the things that sometimes people don't think about, but these are the things that allow people to embrace the change, to accept what you're trying to offer to them. Understanding objections. What stands in our way is not always what is our objections. The things that stand in our way are the things that we can work around, but people have objections to things. But sometimes the objections that we have are our own. Like, I can remember a time delivering a presentation to the Country Western Retailers Association. This was 325 alpha male cowboys who sell country Western attire, belt buckles and boots and everything like that. And this lady calls me up named Rose. And Rose says, Johnny, we heard about your talk on change and sales, and we'd love for you to come and speak. And so I tell Rose, yes, Rose, I would love to come and speak. And then she says, we are the Country Western Retailers Association. So these are people who are in the country Western apparel, and they're cowboys. And then I told Rose on the phone, I said, Rose, have you looked at my website? Do you know what I look like? And she said, yes, but that doesn't, she said, yes, and we still want to have you. I said, great. The money was right, and Johnny Campbell was flying. So I flew out to Denver. When I got out to Denver, I pulled in there, went into the stadium there, into the convention, and there they were, all of these cowboys walking around in this big coliseum with all of their Western gear and apparel on, just walking around. And Rose started walking me around. As she walked me around, she introduced me to people. And as she introduced me to people, I started noticing a trend here. And it wasn't a great trend at all. Whenever she would introduce me, they would look at me and they would say, huh, you're the speaker, huh? And I knew right there it might be a problem. Because every time she introduced me, they gave me this stare. And this stare made me become self-conscious of myself. And then suddenly, Rose said, okay, Johnny, we're going to go ahead and get you ready to speak. You go behind the stage, get ready, and everyone will come into the big room and we'll get this program going. Well, I'm behind there nervous now. Now, I'm not supposed to be nervous because I'm the speaker, but I am nervous because the audience has to me, the people I've met have not given me that warm, fuzzy feeling that everything's going to be okay. So I look out from behind the curtain, and there they are, 325 alpha male cowboys with their hats on in the building, staring straight ahead. And at that moment, when I looked at them, at that particular moment, that's when I wished that God would have swept me up and took me away right there. But God didn't show up, and I'd already cashed a check. So I got to go forward. And so when I walked out on stage there, my first comment to everybody was, if you're here to make more money and save money and grow your business in the midst of uncertainty and change, you give me a yippee-yi-yay right now. Yippee-yi-yay. 325 cowboy hats go flying up in the air. These guys are ready to learn. And I'm able to deliver a talk that helps them grow their business. See, the reason I tell you this little story here is because objections sometimes come from ourselves. I thought because of who I was, they would not receive me. See, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what your race is, your sex is, your sexuality is, your religion, your height, your weight. It doesn't matter as long as you are there for them. When you think more about yourself than you do about the audience, that's when you become self-conscious, and that's when objections start to build up in you. You're there for them. And as long as you stay focused on helping them, you can make it through any presentation if you will craft it correctly. But sometimes in our minds, we get so caught up in who we are and we forget that I'm there for them. And the more I think about being there for them, the more confident I have in what I'm there to do. And that's really the lesson about objections that I want to share with everybody there. But let me share with you when they were so happy at the conclusion of my presentation that they gave me a gift. And here's the gift they gave me. Hi, everybody, look at that. They gave me that gift right there, a Stetson hat. Now, I'm not a Stetson hat kind of guy, but, look at me. I'm a guy from Chicago. That's what Chicago guys wear, but I got on a Stetson hat. And they gave me that as a gift for being at their event. And when I saw myself in this hat, I thought about an old TV show and a guy that was on this show. And it was this guy right here on the screen. It was from the Chuck Norris movie, Texas Walker Ranger. And this was Chuck Norris's sidekick right here. And so I realized that I had the same hat he had on and the same grin there as well. So I just show everybody that that hat comes from somewhere. I'm not a Stetson man, but that was the hat that I got. All right. Next thing on there is this. When you're delivering your presentation, know your environment. And here's one of the biggest lessons about knowing your environment. When I would always show up an hour early to every presentation so that I could prepare, I could get the sound right, I get the technology correct, things set up correctly. When you're delivering a presentation, this is your responsibility to make this thing work. So like for tonight, this was a tough one tonight for Dr. Michael. It was tough because he couldn't get his tech to work. And that's something that we all have to work on, is getting our tech to work so that it flows, especially if you need your tech to deliver your presentation. And here's the thing about presentations. I could deliver this talk without the slides, but the slides reinforce the message. You can listen to me, true, but we have all types of learners. Remember that. You have visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners. People learn in different ways. So it's important to create an environment where everyone can learn and receive. Some people want to take notes. That's why my slides have notes on them. Sometimes it's just a photograph, but I'm trying to appeal and engage with all the types of learners. When you're doing your presentation, you got to know your audience and who's sitting out there. Are they sitting in a keynote where they can't take notes? Or are they sitting in a workshop where they can write and take notes? You got to know the environment they're going to be in so you can craft your message to work for that environment. Next thing on there is this, a call to action. Know your close. How are you going to close out the presentation? That's not the outcome, but how do you close? How do you wrap everything up and close it out? Like you've got these concepts, these ideas you've been sharing, or this one great idea about a product, service, or whatever it is. How do you close that around? How do you bring that loop around? So when you're done, they say, okay, they have a sense of completion when they hear you speak. Of course, they may want to buy what you have to offer, but during the presentation, people are looking for closure. Think about movies, think about TV programs. Doesn't it drive you crazy when you watch a show and you realize they're going to put you on a cliffhanger at the end of it? You ready for the closure, and they say next week, see the next show. It drives you crazy because you are looking for closure. Well, in a presentation, we have to give them closure because we might not be back next week. More than likely, we're not. This might be your one time to speak, and this is your closeout. So you have to close the concepts and thoughts out and complete them. The third principle is choosing the right words. We've got our outcomes. We know what our outcomes are. We understand our audience. We understand what they value, what they want. We know what's standing in their way. We realize environment is very important to us. And now it's time to write. It's time to craft the words that go with the structure that you're putting together. The quote is simple. If you can't write your message in a sentence, you can't say it in an hour. My presentation is how to craft a winning presentation. That's my message, how to craft a winning presentation. So I'm doing a program here for 45 minutes to an hour, but that's the message. At the end of this, that's what you'll take away. He showed us how to craft a winning presentation. And a winning presentation is basically you saying, okay, the outcome you want to achieve, if it is achieved, that's a winning presentation. But that's what I've done here. My TEDx talk, for those that are familiar with TEDx, I did a TEDx talk. It was called How an Enemy Can Improve Your Life. This talk, I was selected. I didn't audition for TEDx. Someone selected me for my TEDx talk. And when they asked me to do the talk, they gave me 90 days to be ready for the TEDx talk. I spent 60 days writing. I wrote for 60 days because I was only going to be given 15 minutes. So I wrote for 60 days to prepare the content that I wanted to share in the TEDx. And it was about how an enemy can improve your life, which is how competition makes us better. 60 days I wrote, 30 days I rehearsed, and I used Toastmasters as my rehearsal ground. So I went to my Toastmaster club, and that's where I worked on my delivery. I wasn't worried about the delivery. I was worried about the structure of the talk. See, whenever you do a TEDx talk, you're sharing an idea. And the idea you're sharing is like a lawyer. You're arguing your position. Now, there are many ways to talk about competition, but I had to choose a lane and pick a lane of like why competition is great for business and life. That was my argument. That was my idea. And it took me 60 days to just narrow down that argument. That's why writing your speeches is so important. When I was in the speech contest for Toastmasters, I wrote my speeches. The clients that hire me, I write my speeches out so that I'm able to deliver the message they need to hear. Here's the thing. No one's paying me for my memory. They're paying me for my insight, knowledge, and expertise. That's why I write my speeches out. That's why I use PowerPoint. No one is asking me to get up on stage and have everything memorized. They want to be helped. They want to be healed. They want to be improved. And I need to be able to do that because that's what you do when you're getting paid to speak for audiences. You're there to help them. They're not there paying you for your memory. They're paying you for your expertise, insight, and knowledge. The two parts of a speech, the message and the stories. And I want to show you this here because I want you to have a context of how to think about things. The message is the idea and outcome you're trying to get across. The stories support the message. The ideas. The story is not the most important thing. I know you've been told about storytelling. The outcome and the idea is the most important thing. The stories support it. So many speakers do it the other way around. They tell these stories, but the idea and the outcome is never clear. when you're trying to deliver a presentation to persuade, to influence, to inform, this I recommend is the process. If you're trying to entertain, make people laugh, tell jokes, then that's another different format there. But when you're trying to educate, persuade, influence, inform, the idea outcome is most important. The story support it, then your humor, body language, and props come into play. The idea you're trying to get across, that's the most important thing. So there you have it. The 7 keys for crafting a great presentation. Know your desired outcome, your audience, the objections, the time frame. That's always important. Know your time, how much time you're going to be given. Know your environment, know your close, and then know your message. These structural 6 are more important than your message at first, because your message is woven into the other 6. I repeat that, your message is woven into the other 6 above it. That's how you create a tight message that really gets to the heart of what you want to get across. Practice isn't the thing that you do once you're good. It's the thing that you do that makes you good. I've been a professional speaker for 20 plus years, and I still rehearse. I still practice. It doesn't matter that COVID has occurred. I still rehearse. I still practice my content and my materials. It's how I get better. It's how I'm able to get across a message that makes a difference in people's lives. Although I can't show up physically, I'm showing up virtually in places. So it's important to me to craft and work on my message to make sure it gets across at the level that it should. Another part to understand is I know people have these backgrounds and all of these different things behind them. But as you can see, I don't have any of that. Because what I believe is that if you have a message that is really designed to help a specific group of people with a specific problem, that's all they care about. That's all that matters to them. I don't need to have anything behind me flickering or doing any weird stuff behind me when I know that what I have to say is what they've come to hear. See, when people are interested in what you have to say, they are engaged because they're like, wow, this person is trying to solve my problem and I don't want to miss anything. That's engagement to me. When you have an answer to someone's problem and you have people on the call, on the screen that have that problem. That's the key to engagement to me. I'm not saying you can't do all that other stuff, but I'm saying that I don't, because the audiences I target only care about their problems and me offering solutions. And so that's why I stay focused. In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. This is Eric Hoffer. And the reason I share this with you is that each and every one of you here is a transformational being who has in their own hand the ability to create and do wonderful things. But a lot of times we forget that we have this power to create what we want in our lives and to embrace things. But how do we create? By learning. We learn, we educate ourselves, and we become more. That's what Pathways is really about to me. Pathways is a process, not an outcome. You learn pathways based on outcomes you want to achieve in your life. You look at pathways and say, which pathway helps me achieve my outcome and end game? Then pathways becomes more significant to you. Once you know what your end game is, the outcomes that you want, now pathways merely becomes the process in between. But you have to know the outcome you want. If you're doing it just to do it, you're not going to have any fun. But if you're doing it with a specific end game in mind, now it has meaning and significance to you. Also, when it comes to technology, understand this. Technology grows and develops over time. Pathways will improve and grow over time. I want everyone to think about it for a moment. Who currently has an iPhone 1? Nobody. No one has an iPhone 1 because technology improves and it grows and it develops. Hence with pathways. The technology part of it, it will grow, it will improve, and it will get better over time so long as we give it feedback and more information. It takes time for technology to catch up. So you got twofold there. You got the technology of pathways and the content of pathways. I've never heard anyone complain about the content, only the technology. So if we're focused on those two things, technology needs time to catch up. The content, remember, it's the outcome you want. Then you put pathways in front of that. Then the pathways has more significance to you. And that's how I think about pathways. Well, there you have it. A way to win the crowd here, a way for us to win the crowd. Now, I have a question for you here as we get near the end here. What do you want to be, do, or have, or achieve? Your communication skill is a doorway to you becoming, doing, having, or achieving whatever you want. We live in a time of constant change and uncertainty, but it is our communication skills that allow us to persuade, influence, engage people, that allows us to become, do, and have what we want to achieve. It is the one skill that will never let you down if you will continue to develop it and hone it. But you've got to decide that you're going to work on it, really work on it, not just, I got a speech in my pocket, but really say, I'm going to use what Toastmasters has given me and take it out into the real world. See, I'm very proud of Toastmasters, and I let people know, other organizations and groups outside of Toastmasters, when I get on stage, they know I'm a DTM and an AS. They know that because I'm proud of it. And what I want to show them is what one can become by being a part of Toastmasters, so that more people see the value of Toastmasters. But you have to know what you want to do, to be, to have, or achieve by being a part of Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a vehicle, but you got to know what you want. So what I did was put together some things there for those that are interested. Of course, I have my 2 audio CDs that are audios that people can listen to and hear on how to speak off the cuff and never be stumped, and my Win the Crowd. And these are audios. And that's $20. But what I also brought was this, and this is a big packet that I would bring to every district here. This right here is not just audios and presentation training. This is a blueprint here as well. The presentation that I just gave you, I created a template that one could follow step by step. It's 50 slides. I tell you what to put in each and every slide as you do your presentation. I lay out how you help people embrace the change to accept your idea. So I created a presentation with PowerPoint slides that you just add in your photographs and your message to. That's why it's called the Done For You template, because it's a PowerPoint, and all I did was write in what goes here. Put a slide here to help people overcome doubt. Put a slide here that calls people to action. Put a slide here that helps people understand the value of what you have to offer. So I script out what goes in the PowerPoint slide. All you need to do is put your content or photograph there. I record the presentation you're listening to now. This presentation actually is about 80 slides long, so I have a longer version that you can listen to, so that everything I've talked about here remains with you. And of course, more audios and CDs for more training and coaching. Normally it's $300 some, but this is virtual, so it's $147. And you have lifetime access to this. So if you want it for yourself or you want it for your club, it doesn't bother me. You can share it with whoever you want to share it with. I have no feelings about it at all. I want more people to enjoy this material and grow from it. To win the crowd, it's $20. The Win the Crowd packet is $147. I dropped it down to $147 until the 6th of February. Here's how you get it if you're interested. On your phone, because everyone has a phone, you text this number, 352-707-9945, and then you put in there in the message the word speaker in there. So you text the number, you put this word into your box called the speaker, and you hit the button. Or you can call me and order or email me. But if you do this right here, right now, this box will appear on your phone. your name, first name, last name, email address, and your mobile number. Please make sure to put the dashes between your numbers because that's how your number is being recognized by the mobile service. The phone number is over here on the right, as you can see, 352-707-99. You see it right there. That message box, put speaker. This box will appear. You fill out the information, and that will take you over to my course materials, and you'll be able to access them. My final thoughts are simply this. Every presentation I deliver, there's an underlying motive that I have for it, whether it's change, how to teach someone to be a speaker, how to be a better presenter. My underlying motive is to inspire you so that you can look at me and simply say, because of you, Johnny Campbell, I didn't give up. I pursued my dreams and goals. I used your material to help me, and I didn't give up. A lot of times what people need in their life is someone that will stand there next to them in the journey and encourage them to not give up.
Oh.
And that's the one big thing that I have lived by is to create materials to help people to not give up. And these materials will keep you going so that you won't give up. So once again, here are all the materials that are available to everyone, and it's really your choice. But I want to thank Tom and I want to thank everyone for having me on this presentation and allowing me to do what I do. And I'm going to close the talk and then answer some questions here, but I'm going to close the talk with my famous phrase. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Johnny Campbell, and I am called the Transition Man. And I want you to always remember this when it comes to success, money, and happiness. The elevator to all of that is broken. But if you're willing to do the work, the stairs to your dreams are always available. Thank you.
That's cute.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Let's give him an applause, even if you can't hear it. You'll know it's there.